This is a quick video to explain to you how to do a compression test on a STI specifically, or a WRX, anything with a boxer motor in the front where the spark plugs are kind of hard to get to, and you oftentimes have to do a compression test because you're curious, did I have Ringland failure, did I blow my engine up? All those things could be going through your head, and a lot of people will tell you, well, did you do a compression test on it? No, I don't really know how to do that. After this video, you should know exactly what to do. You're going to need some tools. You might have to order some things. Be patient. Wait for it in the mail so that when you do the job, it's not as hard as it can turn into. Two important things before we start this. You can check the compression when the engine is hot or cold. I did it when it was ice cold in this video. Therefore, my compression is going to be lower, and that's why you saw the number you did across all 4 cylinders today. In the event the engine is hot, which is harder to work on, you're going to have an accurate compression to what you planned for when you built the engine. A stock STI should be around 150 psi all 4 cylinders, to my knowledge. Comment down below if that's not accurate, or what you found in your experience. Second, before you do any of this, unplug your fuse for your fuel pump first. Let the engine turn over a couple times until it runs out of gas, and then proceed with this. Therefore, you don't have the engine igniting and trying to start when you have your compression tester plugged in. Wouldn't be a big deal, but it would just don't do it. Let's start with the compression testing aspect of it. You're gonna need, I got the Quick Connect compression tester. I'll leave a link in the description on Amazon. You can go to Harbor Freight and grab it. We have a big Amazon tools list below always, just so in case anyone's ever wondering. Maybe send it to your girlfriend for Christmas. But it comes in this little box, and you've got nothing but the little quick adapters, which there's a small, medium, and a large. On this car, it's the biggest one as far as the thread goes. Tools are the part that makes spark plugs easier for Subarus, because they are like one of the hardest cars to do. Randall has a big, tall 3/8 drive ratchet. I am using this. This is a lifesaver. Then, to get our spark plug out, we have a 5/8 magnetic spark plug socket. So sometimes there's rubber in here. I have a magnetic one. There's a lot of conversation of what concoction can use to get the spark plugs out the easiest on these cars. This is what's working for me today, and it's honestly been the easiest time I've ever had pulling out spark plugs with this car. It could be a little bit better, but this is working just fine. But this is an interesting setup. So I have my 5/8 magnetic Duralast I got from AutoZone or O'Reilly's, I can't remember, spark plug socket. Then I have a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter. So this is the bigger 1/2 inch, plugs in, makes a little bit of space. So the spark plug sticks deep into the cylinder head. Then I have Randall's Icon little short stubby extension for the 3/8 size. And that right there is just long enough to get into the cylinder head to leave this exposed enough. On all 4 cylinders, I can get the long ratchet in there, and some of them I can't get this to snap in. On most of them I don't. I just leave it like halfway in, and it just grabs it enough to snug it up. And if you didn't know, with spark plugs, you don't need to tighten them super tight. You need to snug them up. Make sure they're snug. They're not going to come loose, but they don't need to be overly tight or anything crazy. So that's why I'm not stressing about getting this only on a little bit, because I just need to snug it up. That's all the hard parts out of the way. The next part is under the hood. You're going to take this fuse cover off. This 15 amp right here, at least on this car, you can look at the diagram on here, and you're going to see right there, it says 15 amp fuel pump. I disconnected that. You are going to see a tool in the fuse box. It was sitting right here. Pull that out. That's your tool. You clamp it, pull it out, set it aside, don't lose it. That shuts your fuel pump off so that when you hit the ignition, it cranks over the engine and doesn't fire, and doesn't flood the engine either. That way, when you have your Quick Connect hose, which I'm going to detach to show you, threaded in here, you connect this to this like an air compressor setup, and then this is your gauge. Super simple setup. When you fire, it's going to go boop, 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 and then it's going to hit a peak of where the compression is at, and then this will actually hold it. So you don't need 2 people like you see in the video today. I did it by myself on cylinders 2, and I'm about to do 4. Other things to consider: you're going to have to remove your battery, you're going to have to remove your intake, My setup is aftermarket, so it might look a little bit different, but don't be intimidated. Just be super patient. Grab the tools down in the description. I'm going to do some research and drop some links that will be super valuable in the description of this video. Let's get into actually doing the compression test and seeing how this engine does. This is a built motor. It's closed decked, CP pistons, Manley rods. I have ID 1000s. I still haven't set aside the money yet to get a bigger turbo, bigger fuel system, and actually make some power. This car is like my first love, so I'm not in a rush to make a bunch of power with it. I'm still learning. I just did my first compression test by myself right now, so I'm not in a huge rush to make a lot of power. We'll get to that eventually. Hopefully for V3 of this car, we'll make some more power. Happy driving this around with spending the amount of money I did on the engine. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to blow anything up again for a while, so let's not put a bunch of power to it yet. One little minor detail, when you slide this in, don't force it. You should just be able to find the spot where the first thread sits, and then you start twisting it. It might take some time, but you want to get a couple threads in. You're like, is it on? I'm going to pull on it a little bit. Oh, yep, it's tight. Okay, I can keep screwing it. And then you just want to get this snug by hand. You're not going to take a wrench to this or anything like that. Cylinder number 4 in the back is actually the hardest to get to as far as getting this coil pack out of there. And instead of, when you pull it straight out this way, it just hits the frame. And so what you got to do is almost rotate it and figure out which way you can rotate it, and then send it back up and then pull it out. So it's not going to come straight out, it's not going to come forward, it's going to go back, have some sort of turn, and then out. I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to play with it, be super patient, and kind of wait. And don't be afraid to, like, don't yank on the wires, but don't be afraid to, like, tug on them a little bit, because you're going to have to rotate this thing a certain way. You don't have to force it, but that is a note you have to take. Do it again. Stop. So if you can see, we're reading about 120. All right, we have this thing hooked up to cylinder 3. So those were both 120. My brother had to leave. I got compression test hooked up to cylinder number 2, so I can't watch it, so let's say a prayer when I come back. It's sitting at 120. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? 120. All right, let's go to 4. 130. I went through this and made this video because I'm chasing down a misfire issue. The engine checked out 120 psi across the board when it's ice cold. So everything's fine with the engine. Only have about 10,000 miles on it since I built it, so I'm very relieved. I'll tell you guys more about this later. I'm still gonna figure this out, and then we'll touch base more on this car. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm working out some plans to bring this car back to life and give it a whole new look with a different power setup, with a completely different purpose, and part of that is me daily driving it again, which I really, really miss. It's just not in a state where I want to do that right now, but we'll talk more on that later. If you enjoy this content, karmaspeed.com is the best way to support the channel. You can grab some really nice products. Randall and I take a lot of pride in the quality of everything, from the ordering process to receiving it, the packaging, the whole 9. Appreciate you guys so much. See you in the next video. Have a good day, night, wherever you're at.